So here is something which I discussed with you in the last class. So here I told you that although the matrix, 2D matrix or 3D matrix, whatever it is, gives you the visual, gives you the visual notion of the dimension, right? The structure associated with a matrix is basically a square structure and not a line structure, right? But as I told you that they are the contiguous memory locations of the matrices are in fact linear. So so it is a visual illusion that you see a matrix as a two-dimensional structure, but actually in memory it is stored in one dimension. So this is one demonstration of that phenomenon. So I must tell you, this program can run with some warnings at several compilers because there are some things which are not very trivial. But I want you to look at this part again. So if you see, sorry, yeah, if you see, so I have printing the element-wise addresses. This I have done in the last class, right? So what I'm doing exactly, I am printing the element-wise addresses like this using this particular command &aij, and these are the contiguous memory locations. So this is first element of row 1, second element of row 1, third element of row 1, first element of row 2, second element of row 2, third element of row 2, right? So if you look at them, they are in contiguous memory locations, 800, 804, 808, 812, 816, 820, but the basically the prefix is the same, right? 2358, right? So I told you that you can access the memory locations in a linear fashion also. Here, not here, sorry. Here. So I passed, if you remember, I passed the array, which is a two-dimensional array, right here, A. So I passed A. That is basically a two-dimensional array, but I can use the single dimension to access all the elements. Here, this I told in the last class, but I did not explain the calculation. So if you look at the calculation here, so it has 2 rows and 3 columns, right? So I am looking at the ijth element. For example, let's look at the 1 1 element 1 1. So this is 1 1. So 0, this is 1, and this is 0 1. So 1 1. So how do you calculate? So I want the 1 1 element. Okay. So how am I doing the calculation? So I am passing the starting address. Remember, I am starting at passing the starting address. So this I am passing, and I am reaching the 1 1 element. So I am doing it like this plus. So this is 1 into C. Number of columns is 3, right? 3 plus 1. So that is 4. A plus 4. You see. So this is A. So this is A at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the 1 1 element I'm getting, right? Again. So this is 0. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is as good as a linear array. So you have to do some tricks to be able to do this. But you see that this establishes the fact that this is no different from a one-dimensional array. If you use an array, you cannot use it using, you cannot do this using the conventional notation aij. But that's the beauty of pointers. If you know the starting address, you can actually pass the two-dimensional array to a function and use it and basically access the elements like a one-dimensional array. So that flexibility you will get, but you would need to know the starting address, and you would need to know the number of rows and number of columns. Okay, so this is one part I did not cover well, so I did not explain well, which I found. And there is another part, though I introduced the concepts to you, but I did not explain the consequences of this. So I talked about the constant qualifier, right? So I talked about if you use constant, what are the consequences. So I explained if I put a constant and before star, it means that you can change the address, but once you are pointing at a particular address, you cannot change the value. So what is the use of it? So why would one want to do it? So what's the what's the benefit? So here, so I started the lecture last day by talking about I'm going to basically reverse the string, but that's not the case. I'm trying to copy this string to this string. So this is the original string. This is the original string, and this is the string to which I want to copy this. So I'm passing both to xstrcpy. So this is a function written by me. So there is, if you remember, there is a strcpy given by, I mean, basically string.h, right? But this is the one which is written by me. Copy is the destination, and this is the source. So, so name is a source string. That is a string which I am going to copy, and I am going to copy to this. So when I pass this here, I put a constant. Why am I basically am I doing this? So suppose I remove this, and the copying is going on, right? There is no problem in the copy. But suppose I want to do this. So after I am copying this, so where is the pointer currently? Where is the pointer at the end, right? It is, so this particular string has moved to the last position. So if I do -5, then it will move back to the first position because the length of the string is 5, KRIPA. Now, so if you print it, so this is the kripa that is printed here, I mean, in the function. That is okay. I mean, if you just, so if you move it 4 places back, what will happen? So it will become ripa, right? So it is basically, I mean, kripa, I mean, ripped. So I have come back 4 positions. So I was here, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is like this. So if I go back to the first position and I print it, it's okay. But suppose I do this, what will happen? Let's see. It is getting changed. So what I'm printing in main, this I'm printing, the copy of kripa is kripa. So what I'm printing exactly? The copy of name, this is kripa, is copy, right? So copy is the copied version, but this is the original version which has been changed here. So this is not supposed to be done, but if suppose you give a program to a user and accidentally something happens, then your original string runs the risk of getting garbled up. That you need to stop somehow. So this is the convention. If you put a constant here, it is pointing to a constant string, right? If you run this, you see that this won't be allowed. You cannot change the contents of this. So basically, to stop this kind of activities inside a function where you are passing the actual address, then it is a dangerous thing, right? You run the risk of actually changing it accidentally. It can happen accidentally, but you should stop. I mean, put some functionalities if possible to, I mean, basically get this done. So if we can look at the manual page of strcpy that is provided by Linux, or I mean the manual page is given by Linux. So this is the strcpy which we use. If you look at this strcpy, you see that this is what is done. So this is basically the definition of strcpy in str, basically string.h. So this is the function we borrow from the kernel. So you see that in the source they have put a constant. So this is also done at system level. to prevent accidental changing of the original version of the string. So this is done. So this is standard. Okay. So this is something which I wanted to share with you. I mean, this will give you a glimpse of what is done at basically at professional level of programming. So that's why constant is sometimes important. All right. So let's move on to the next topic. So there is something which is not very frequently used, but nonetheless, it is good to know about it. It is called pointer to a function. So when you write a code and when you try to compile it, memory is allocated for the variables, right? So that is basically the source code portion. Sorry, the variables which are basically residing in the main memory. But there is a memory allocation for the code also. Why? Because the source code is converted to machine level code. This is C code, so the machine doesn't know anything about C, right? It knows, it understands only the machine level code. It can be assembly code, it can be, the binary level code. Ideally, it is the binary level code. I don't know exactly what works for this particular kernel, but it is like that. So for function also, there will be some memory allocation. So if you want to play around with that, you can do that. So this is called pointers to a function. So what this means is we can have a pointer to a function. So that will point to the starting address of the function. So you see that this is the notation. So we talked about 3 other notations, right? So if you do this, for example, say star something P3. This is what? Array of pointers. And if you do this, pointer to an array of 3 integers. Right. This we already did before. Where? I did it here, right? Yeah. This is star P3. This is a pointer to an array of 3 integers. So this is a pointer to a function. So you see the difference. For a function, remember that. So here, pointer to an array of 3 integers. Since it is an array, there will be basically a square bracket. For a function, it will be a first bracket. So I already have a function that is called add, right? And if I do f equals to add, so f is a pointer to a function, that is add. So add is a function here, not a variable. Now what I am doing is I'm calling this function. So I'm calling this function. So here you don't have to care about the declaration of the arguments. If you do f equals to add, so this means that you are pointing to add. So we are in add, and so I'm passing 4 and 5. What is add doing? Add is basically adding these 2 numbers and basically returning the sum. So I'm printing the sum here. As simple as that, very simple. And I am passed this particular function as a pointer to another function. So I am doing this add. I am passing this add to print sum, which is another function. So if I do this, so here is a pointer to a function. So I'm passing basically this is the starting address of the function. So this here I have an array, a pointer to a function which with a return type int. So this is a function. This is an array. This is a pointer to a function with return type int. So it takes this as input as a parameter, or no, not parameter. It's an argument, and it also takes a and b, and it calls f. What is f? F is basically add, right? So it contains the address of add, and it runs it. Right. So we are in. So it calls we are in add sum equals to 9. So let's print this. We are in. Yeah, we are in print sum, and then it's printing we are in add, and it's printing 9. Okay. Hope the recording is still on. Yeah. Okay. Great. So this is something for your information, but it is rarely used, because if you can pass the values to your function, or basically get back some basically some result from a function, there is no real need to need for pointer to a function, but the functionality is there, and this is for you to just keep in mind. So this you need not use. So I never use it in any application. Just go through this for the sake of completeness. That will be it. I will share this with you. I'll share the code with you. So this is it. And one final thing about pointers, I believe, is a pointer to structures. So what is that? Okay, pointer to structure, right? Okay, all right. So does it work? Let me run it. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So here is. So here, this is akin to the example which I showed you before, which would be useful for your project. By the way, the deadline is about 1 week to go, right? So it's 22nd of November, I think. So I have not created an entry for it in VLearn, but I will do in the next week. So this is structure of a book. So you have a title, ID, number, and you can also have a pointer here if you want. Now, I've taken an array of book. So this is a structure, right? Books is an array of structures of type book containing basically two elements, and this is a pointer of book type, right? So what I do is p equal to books, which basically means p equal to ampersand book 0. So it is pointing to the first element of this array. No problems in that. Now I am calling a function initialize, and it is passing book. So it is passing the starting address, but still, since this is an array, here I know in advance that it contains two elements. So it is passing these three values. So this is the title of the book, this is the ID of the book, this is the basically the stock of the book. So basically the number of books. It is passing this to this function, and see what it is doing. So okay, so it's passing ampersand book 0. So it is passing the starting address of B0, sorry, book 0. So here it is initializing this. So it taking title, ID, and number. It also taking the pointer. So this is basically ampersand B0. So using this pointer, it can access the members of the structure. How? Initially, if you remember, it used dot, right? So you could access the members using dot, but in pointer notation you can use this b. There is an arrow title. So this is basically b arrow title comma title. This is basically strcpy, right? So this title is getting copied to b dot title. ID is getting copied to b dot id. It is tantamount, so it is basically equivalent to b dot id, and b number is initialized to this number, right? So I'm not covering this part. And if you display this, yeah, you can print it like this. So that is the notation that is followed when you use pointers. Okay, and you see how I'm passing this. So this is ampersand book 0. This is as good as books. Ampersand book 0 is as good as books. Ampersand book 1 is as good as books plus 1. These two are equivalent. Okay. So here, so have I used update function? Okay, let me try to use that. Update, how? Okay, let's, does it take anything as input? As, okay. So let me update books 0. Books, okay. And if I can display this again, let's see if it works. Yeah. So you see that I have updated this here, right? I've updated books and then I'm printing it. So the copies have been updated to 6. So if you remember a previous example, when I had to pass a copy, I had to pass a copy of books, I mean one of the elements, and I had to update that local copy and I had to return this. So do I have this example with me? So I can show you maybe. Structure, right? Struct. No. Yeah. Where did it go? Somewhere else. This is the one. Yeah, this is the one. So if you can see this, I'm updating. So I am using, so I am passing, say, book 1. This is a variable. I'm passing book 1 and I am reading back book 1. So what does that mean? So I am passing a copy of book 1 and I'm updating it and I'm passing the updated copy. On the other hand, here I am passing the pointer and I'm updating the number. This is this particular member, and I'm not returning it because it is not required, because it is accessing the exact version. So it has the memory address of that particular block of structure, right? So it can access the actual member of that structure and it is getting reflected here. So that is the plus point of using pointers. And you can do a lot of things using pointers, but I think I have covered a lot already on pointers, so it's better not to complicate things too much. Let's move on to the next topic. Yeah. So yeah. So here there is one last thing. Did you see this? Okay. Yeah, I think there is one more thing you noticed here, that this arrow, so dash and this sign, has a higher priority over plus plus. Why? If you did notice here in the program, what I did, so it is not, so it is basically, this has a higher priority, so this is basically accessing the number and it is incrementing it. So it is not incrementing it previously first, it is not that it is first incrementing it and then it accessing it, it is accessing it. So this particular operator, I mean basically sticks to the operands. So this is the operand here, and this is the operator, this is working on this operand. So this part is important, and I am showing you some examples where these increment operators are used. Okay, this part is no longer important, so let me move on to these. So these are about pointers in general. So let's look at this. So going by this, if you do here, so on the other hand, if you do this star p plus plus, in this case, so the preference is from left to right. No, okay, not really. So here plus plus has more preference than star. So if you do this, then the pointer will increment and the value will not increment. So let me show you examples. So here, let's look at the array. So there is an array of 3 elements, 1, 5 and 15. So okay, 1, 5 and 15. So and q is a pointer to integer. So I can write q equals to array, right? Q is equal to array. So now, so q is now pointing to the first element of array, that is 1, right? 1, 5 and 15 is the array. And if I do this, let's see what happens. So let me mark these also. That will be easy to follow. Okay, so you see that if you look at the 1, 5 and 15 are the 3 consecutive elements in the array. So if I do this, so it is accessing star, but it is first, so it is incrementing and it is accessing. So what is happening here? So it is, you see that it is accessing q. Yeah, so basically the thing is happening from left to right. So they have I mean similar priority. By they I mean star and plus plus. So it works from left to right. So it prints star q. So star q is what? It is basically array 0, right? It prints 1, and then the pointer gets incremented to the next position. So if you see 2, so it is printing 5, right? Why? Because it is the next element of the array. So star q it is printing, and then it is doing q plus plus. So my original intention was to increment this 1 to 2. That did not happen. 1 got printed and the pointer moved from 1 to 5. That's the next element of the array, and that is getting printed. So now I have realized my mistake. Now if I want to increment this particular element, I need to do this. So but I am doing it after this, right? So if I do this, so it will print the current element and then it will increment, right? So it will print star q, and since there's a plus plus, so at 3 it is printing 5, but when you again print basically star q, that is basically a1, that has incremented to 6. But I don't want to do this. I want to increment first and then print. Then what I need to do? I need to do plus plus and star. Right. So if I do plus plus and star, it means that it's incrementing this element. So it is first incrementing and then printing. So it was at 4, it was 6, right? 5 got incremented here. 5 got incremented here. So here it is 6. So it is plus plus 6. Right? So it has first incremented to 6. So from 6 to 7. Then it is printing. So if I'm printing it again, then it will give 7 because it has already incremented. If I do this plus plus, then I suppose it will move on to the next position. Yes, it has moved on to the next position. So what I am doing here, so it is moving from left to right. So plus plus is done. So there is a pre-increment. Post-increment will take place after this value has been accessed. So it has incremented this star q, that is basically here array 1. So it has incremented from 6 to 7, and then there is plus plus. So the pointer has moved to the third element of the array, that is 15. So it is printing 15. So I will share this code with you. If you go through it and try to play around with it, and it will give you a good idea of how the increment operators work. So this is also a very common question asked at interviews, like the increment and decrement operators, star, and all these things. This is very important to know. Now I am going to skim through something which is not in your syllabus. So this is not in your syllabus, but this will give you a better idea of why pointers are useful. So there is something called linked lists. So we have talked about arrays, right? But there is something called linked lists. So array is a static data structure. So I'm talking about static array. So I write int a5. This is I'm talking about. But I can of course have a pointer and I can allocate values, right? Which I did in the previous class. I can allocate values and I can reallocate values. But I'm not talking about the pointers. I'm talking about the arrays only. So if I write int a5, which means that the allocation of memory is permanent for the program. So I cannot change it anymore. So I have already, requested the compiler that I want an array of 5 elements at the beginning, and the size needs to be specified at the beginning. But suppose I don't know in advance how many elements I'm going to need in the course of the program. I can look for linked lists. So this is basically a dynamic data structure. So the advantage of this is there is no wastage of memory space, because you can add more elements when required, and you can delete when they are no longer available. Insertion and deletion is very easy. So if you want to insert something in the middle of an array, then you basically need to shift the succeeding elements to the right to accommodate for the new element. Here you don't need to do that. But disadvantage is that any element can be searched, basically linearly. You cannot have a direct access using the index as in an array. And for a given element, more space is required. Why? Because a node, so an element in an array is like 1, 2. So in the previous example, one element is 1, right? 1 or 5 or 15. So here each element contains a data and a pointer. So data will store the information that is stored. So that is the information. So 1 is an information, 5 is an information. So basically the value, and pointer contains the address of the next node. So what is a node like then? So it is a structure. So it is usually taken as a structure. In C++ or in object-oriented programming, you can have a class also. So you have an information and you have a link to another structure, basically a structure type element. So that will be your next node. So there will be a pointer pointing towards the start of the linked list, and there will be a null. So suppose this is a linked list. So I mean, think of an array which has 3 elements, 1, 3, and 5, and then try to think about the basically the equivalent of it in linked lists. I mean parlance. So it will look like this. So this is the starting address, and these are the elements, and you see that each element will contain I mean each node will contain an element that is a value, and the pointer pointing to the starting address of the next node. So this is not prefixed. So you can first create this one, and then you can create this one, then you can link this, then you can create this one, and then you can link this. So without looking at the details of what goes on, suppose this is a linked list and you want to insert 2 here. What will you do? So what in array, how can you do that? So it is a position 0, 1, 2, right? And if you want to insert something at position 1, then so suppose you have enough I mean spaces on the right, you have to shift 3 to this position, 5 to this position, right? But here what you do is you change this pointer to this location. You change this pointer to this. So this is starting address of this node, and you change the pointer of this to this. So then when you traverse the linked list, then it will become 1, 2, 3, and 5. So it traverses using the pointers only. So if you look at the code, so each time I want to add something, say after 1, then what I do, I first look for 1. I first look for 1, and then I create a node using malloc, and I put that entry here. So that entry is here 2. Then I change this link to here, and I change this link to this. Then it becomes continuous. This is insertion, and deletion is even more easy. So this is suppose I want to delete this node. What will I do? I will simply change this pointer to this location. This pointer to this location. So you see that I just changed the, so I will be able to know this location from this, right? So if I go through this, so this is an element of a structure, right? So I know the starting address. So from the starting address, I can be able to access this link because I told you. So I showed you the example, right? If I show you the example here, so if I know the starting address, so I know the starting address of the first element, right? So I will be able to access the elements within the structure, right? So from there I will be, so since I know this starting address, I will be able to know this link. So from this information, what I will do, I will change this link to this link. So I will point to this location. So this is how you can best make use of structure and pointer at the same time. So this is one of the best applications of pointers, one of the most efficient applications of pointers. But this is not in your syllabus, but I wanted to give you a short demo of what you can do with pointers. There are a whole lot of things I mean which you can do using pointers. This is just a short demo. So since some time is left, let's get started. Just get started with the next topic, and we can continue the discussion in the next class. So now let's talk about some other data structures. Stack. So we already talked about stacks, right? In one of our previous discussions. So we were talking about function calls. So it is in function calls, stack is very much used, and apart from this, it is used in many advanced applications. So insertion and deletion can be done at one end only. So this is an example of a stack. So it is basically a pile which is upside down. So which is so you can only access the first element of the stack at the at one. So if you so here the assumption is that you are not going to pull out this element from the stack. So you can only access the first element, then the second element in this direction, right? So that is the assumption you have. So it is in last in first out policy. So deletion is last in first out policy. So the element that is inserted at the end is eligible to be basically deleted at the first. So insertion is called push operation, deletion is called pop operation. And the first and the topmost element is pointed to by top. So here is an example. The stack was initially empty. I'm pushing 5 and then I'm pushing 4, I'm pushing 3 and pushing 1. And then I'm popping 1, I'm popping 3, and I'm popping 4, and then I'm popping 5. This I showed you before, right? So how exactly are we going to implement stack? So we already know about push and pop operations. There are several other operations which are sub operations, but which will be useful, like check if the stack is empty, check if the stack is full. By full I mean suppose you are using an array and it is not a dynamic array, it's a static array. So you know the number of elements it can store, right? The maximum number of elements it can store. So if it reaches that particular limit, then it should stop. You cannot push anything into it. So this is for arrays, but if you use linked lists, then is full is of no use, right? So as long as there is memory in the computer, you can keep on adding. That is that is another advantage of having linked list. And pick operation returns a top element, right? So this is a demo of how you can implement push and pop in a stack using array. But since linked list is not in the syllabus, I will only talk about the implementation of stack using array. So this is an array of 5 elements, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is empty. So though you can access this element and this element, but still, since you are implementing stack using it, we will not make an attempt to access anything beyond this point, beyond the top. So this is empty initially. So the top, I have initialized top to -1. So which means that it is empty. Now I am pushing 23. So I'm basically inserting 23. Then top will be incremented to 1. Then I'm pushing 45. Then top will be incremented to 1 again. So now top is 1, and suppose I want to delete or basically pop 45, I will basically decrement the top index from 1 to 2. So again, if it is empty, top the value of top will be -1. So there are no pointers here, don't worry, there are no pointers here. This is just the index of the array. So since it is not storing any information, it is empty. The stop is initialized to -1. Then when you push something, so I increment top by 1, and I push another element, I increment top by 1 again. And if I want to delete something or pop something, I decrement it by 1. Right, it's very simple. So here, so it can be implemented by linked list, but we will restrict ourselves to array. So this is a push operation. So first there is an operation, it will check if it is full or not. So full means if top is equal to max -1. So suppose there is a max variable. So I defined it as global for now. If max is so suppose you can store only at most 100 elements in the stack, not more than that. So if top is equal to 100 -1, then your stack is full, right? If top is equal to max -1, then it will return 1, which means, so this is the question, right? Is full. So is the stack full? If the answer is yes, it will return 1, right? Otherwise, it is return 0. It will return 0. So here in the code, I have taken a global variable, though I asked you not to use global variables, but for the sake of simplicity, I've used a global array, which is basically the stack. And I'm going to implement stack using this array. And another global variable that is top, that is -1. So first I check if it is full or not. So to be full, top should be max. So there is some other definition also. So suppose I set max to 100. So if it is equal to 99, then it is full, then it will not push anything. Otherwise, it will increment top to 1. So top will become how much? 1, right? Initially, sorry, 0. It will initially -1. And then the top element of the stack will be item. So suppose I want to push item. So I call this function push somewhere in main, right? I pass item and stack at top is equal to item, which means that it contains one element, and that is item. And if I want to remove anything, I need to check if it is empty or not. If it is empty, then there is no point in removing, right? So it asks the question, is empty, is it empty? So if top is -1, that is the initial condition, that is the empty condition, right? So if top is equal to 1, sorry, -1, then it will return 1, otherwise it will return 0. So if it is empty, then it will return a garbage value. So it is I'm return a flag -999, which shows that the pop operation is not successful. Otherwise, it will take the top element. So stack top is the top element, right? It will return this element, and before returning, it will decrement top by 1. So this is exactly what I showed you in the example. So for a change, I'm not going to write a code of stack now. So I will give you a couple of days time, which starts from today. By Monday, you should be able to implement stack. I already showed you the examples of push. You should be able to understand.